said I struggle to get in line. Hustle from the bottom, no customers don't lie. 365 and them days and the phone shine. Hustle till I die, so I never have shine. If I'm telling better,
What up, dope people? This is your man, Prophecy 313. This is another episode of Cigars with Friends. On this episode, we taking a different route. You know what I mean? I got two good friends and family of mine. One that's doing something with the Malcolm X House in Inkster, Michigan. I got another one that's in Illinois that's putting up some things in place, and situations for civil rights leader CT Vivian. So this is going to be a great show tonight. I want y'all to tap in. Hopefully y'all learn something. Maybe y'all could volunteer or even donate and help these projects get off the feet. So I'm going to bring both of my guests in real quick. What's up, people? Y'all all right?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, so let me introduce y'all. Let me introduce yourself because y'all got accolades that I can't remember. So cuz we're gonna start off with you. Why don't you introduce yourself? This is your third time on the show, so you really don't need to, but go ahead and for the people that's gonna be new tonight.
Yes, sir. Hey, my name is brother Byron Shabazz. I am the president and founder of the Reverend Dr. CT Vivian Project of Macomb, honoring the great civil rights leader, Lieutenant to Dr. King, leader in his own right. Dr. King referred to him as the greatest preacher he'd ever seen. Right now, I'm working to build a $2 million cultural center in his honor that'll have a museum to him. We've done a few things. One of those being one of my more recent projects in his name is I've been promoting his new book that's out, and that new book, and actually the family has worked with me to help use that book as a fundraiser. So that's one of the things. The other one is I'm about to produce we're producing a new mural of CT Vivian in the coming days. Lady very graciously donated the side of a building to me to do this new mural. And I gave you a picture of that mural. That's going to really kind of do a lot to bring attention to the project overall in the book. And I'll be hosting these events, talking, kind of educating people on it, trying to get them to contribute. The center, the Reverend Dr. CT Vivian, the Center for Cultural and Civic Engagement. The idea is, he was a civil rights leader, but he was a real-time leader. He wasn't a stand-back theorist. He was out there creating, the ideas. He was 10 years before the civil rights movement was doing the lunch counter sit-ins. He had done it 10 years before in Peoria, Illinois. So he was a real doer. And so for me, it was about, how do you honor such a man and keep bringing his ideas forth, really educating people about not only their rights, because it's not enough to know your right. You got to have that self-awareness and knowledge of self to make that right even have any value. And so that said, I will pass on to the other brother, but we'll have some further discussion on the projects as we progress.
All right, Aaron, let the people know who you are.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure and it's an honor to be on this show today. I'm humbled. My name is Aaron Sims out of Inkster, Michigan. Just a little back history: was a president of the Western Wayne County NAACP, which overseeing 18 cities in Wayne County, Michigan. From there, I created a nonprofit organization called Project We Hope, Dream, and Believe, which turned into a youth mentoring program, but now we moved on to bigger, better things. So now we actually been fighting for about 13 years for a house in Inkster. We call it the Malcolm X House, but it's the Wilford and Ruth Little House, Malcolm's oldest brother house, where when Malcolm X got released out of prison in 52, this is where he came and started his whole venture with the Nation of Islam. So I own that house and we're turning it into a museum. We've been working with his daughters to make sure that we just tell the correct story of Malcolm from beginning to end. And this house plays a pivotal point in Malcolm's life. And just like Brother Shabazz said, we just bought the whole block around the house. So we just purchased 3 lots and then the state of Michigan has donated us 2 of the lots. So our goal is to build a Malcolm X Culture Center next door to the house, because Malcolm's family, they were carpenters, so they built things by trade with their hands. So our goal is to educate our people, and create a trade school within that building for people to learn how to do drywall, auto mechanics, grow vegetables, just the whole bottom line. So that's just my little story in a nutshell.
That's cool. And it's cool. That. Yeah, that's cool what you're doing, man. Like, you preserving the legacy. That's what both of you guys are doing. That's why I wanted to put y'all on the show together instead of talking to you guys separately, because I think that it'll be a lot of lessons learned for people that's watching and people that don't even know that things exist. And you might ride through Inkster every day and don't even know that that jewel is sitting there. So that's something that needs to be pumped out, and we need to push that. And the same with what you're doing in Illinois, that's big. Those are big things in our community that needs to happen. So I think us putting it out there, letting people know about it, where they can actually jump in and volunteer. They come put something up, you help tear something down, build something up, or even donate money or whatever they can, or donate supplies, because I think this is something bigger than us. Is preserving legacies, because in history they tell us a story that the way they want us to hear it. And now you're in a position to tell the real story. So I just want to first off commend you brothers for doing that, because knowing that even though you're doing these projects, you still got lives to live. You know what I mean? You still got families to take care of and bills to pay. So for you to take on that type of responsibility is an honor in itself. And so I want to talk to you. Well, I'm gonna ask y'all both the same question. I'll start with you, Aaron. So what was your motivation to dive into this project?
I believe my motivation was just being from the city of Inkster, and just knowing like the city that I lived in was built for African Americans who couldn't live in white neighborhoods. So the city of Inkster was formed for African Americans that worked at Ford Motor Company, because they wasn't allowed to live in Dearborn Heights, Westland, and areas like that. And I think what that did was it created like a black bottom feature for Inkster, where you had all these African Americans or these black folks that came into this one little town, and you actually have people who made marks in history that live here, like the Marvelettes, for instance. Motown's very first gold record, they actually are from Inkster. You know, they live right down the street from where we are. So and the list could go on. You got Don Barton, just a whole lot of people. But for me growing up, I used to hear my father and them when they used to run around with the Black Panthers in Inkster, and they used to be like, yeah, you know, Malcolm X was from used to live here. And you know, as young people, we wasn't trying to hear all that until we really started learning who Malcolm X was. So one day we was out doing community service work, and we just asked ourselves, like, man, do you really think Malcolm X lived here? So we Googled the FBI file of Malcolm X, and the address popped up that said 4336 William Street. William Street was the location where the FBI put him under investigation when he got released out of prison. And we rolled by the house, and the house sits right next door to like the housing projects. So we just sat there on the porch, me and a buddy of mine named DeJuan Lynn, and I looked at DeJuan. I say, hey, DeJuan, we gonna own this house, man. And Lord willing, man, 13 years later, there it is. We fought the city tooth and nail not to tear the house down. Because as we all know, you know, mostly in black communities, man, we erase our own history, and we don't preserve it. And we battled, man. We battled with the city for that house. And lo and behold, man, we got a grant to get it together. So I just love my people, man, and I love the history that we that we make, in this world. And I just want to be one of the ones to be able to tell that story about us in general.
That's dope. So I'm gonna throw that same question to you, Byron. And I also know that by looking in your background and behind you, that you're an alpha man, just as CT Vivian was. I know that plays a part in your motivation for this. Well, I want you to tell me, like, what made you dive into it as far as take on this responsibility?
Man, truthfully, it's what's so ironic is the brother, is working on Brother Malcolm. Brother Malcolm made CT Vivian clear for me, right? See, when we think of Malcolm, we often think of, if you hit me, I'm hitting you back. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna tell you right to your face who you really are. I don't have time to do this bucking, shiving, jucking, and trying to, rub you the right way to get you to help me. Malcolm was like, no, I'm telling you right to your face who you are, right? Mm-hmm. And so years of reading and researching Malcolm, one would think that it would harden you. In fact, it's the exact opposite, because Malcolm told me these people ain't tough as they've been playing, right? Okay. And that they've lied about their history. And if you know your history, you don't have to call them a devil or evil or liar. You just tell them the truth about history. Now say, refute that, right? And so for me, learning and being a student of Malcolm really made the honor of CT Vivian that much better. Now, the more that I read of CT, the more I realized this guy is right here from this town and how little we've done for him. Now, there's a high school library named after him. There's some streets named after him, but for me, I'm thinking we have somebody that had an effect. America has had two major movements, the Civil War and the Civil Rights Movement. Mm-hmm. We were pivotal in both of those and making those happen to give America a conscience, right? So how do we say we believe when we limit our beliefs based on what somebody else thinks? So when I talked about, I want to do something in honor of CT Vivian at a much higher level, the question was, where are you going to come up with $2 million? That ain't my problem. That's your problem. My, situation here is I've got to get this done to honor his legacy, right? Mm-hmm. So I started work. And this is when you believe in what you're doing and you're confident about it, people start coming to you. As I first started this, a lawyer seen me, I didn't even know, came to me after the event I put on honoring the Reverend CT Vivian, asked me to lunch, paid all of my legal fees, called a big law firm, got him to do some pro bono work, but paid all of my processing and legal fees to get my foundation, my 501c3, all of that done, right? Wow. Mm-hmm. The family gave me the property. The lady that owned the property next door donated the other property to me. Wow. Same lady gave me the building to put this new mural up that we're getting ready to put up, right? So when people see you doing work and there's no personal gain in it, they believe in your cause even more. Mm-hmm. If I were out here peddling CT Vivian, but I was making money, they were like, well, it's just a business venture. Mm-hmm. This is not a business venture. This is improving my community, giving my people a voice, honoring him by teaching civic and social engagement, because that's what we've gotten lost and too far away from, right? Because nothing has come to us without resistance. So understanding the reasons that he dealt with, I said, well, if I'm going to honor him, I have to walk in those same footsteps. So that's where a lot of my energy comes from, is to seeing us make that progress. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's beautiful. See, the thing about it is like I say, even in business or anything you do, the hardest part is starting. And once you get more, once you get going, you never know what's going to happen, what help is going to come, what's going to fall in line. Just like you said, the state donated lots to y'all, the lady donated the property to you, and that's just because you started the ball rolling. Right. And like you sparking that, it only take a spark to start a fire. We all know this. Right. You know what I mean? Right. So it's just it's dope what both of you have done. That's why I say it was so I had to get y'all on here together, because I need these stories. For one, like I'm gonna be honest, I never heard of CT Vivian until our first interview. So I think I'm one of the smartest people I know. So if I didn't know, I know there's a lot of people that don't know. I'm just being honest. You know what I'm saying? So just for us having this conversation, people gonna look up or Google CT Vivian and they gonna learn more. So just this little
I'm
platform that we have, they're gonna learn. So you already teaching and expanding it. You know what I'm saying? And people know about Malcolm X, but a lot of people don't even know he had a house. He lived in Inkster. They knew he was in Detroit because the nickname Detroit Red. They didn't know it was actually in the city of Inkster. And so if I'm a kid growing up in Inkster and I see that Malcolm X lived in my city, that's a whole different type of energy that I can even adapt to. But if I don't know, how will I get that?
Which is the whole point. Right. If you don't know, right? So like brother's work is getting ready to bring a totally different dimension to that, because when you talk about Detroit, as a person that was a member of the Nation of Islam for 10 years, when you talk about Detroit, you talk about mosque number 1. First mosque was right there in Detroit. We don't talk about Malcolm because we talk about Malcolm in opposition to, right, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Well, in fact, if you look at when the nation grew under the teachings of Malcolm X, not necessarily the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, right? And that's where the confusion started, because they felt like he was becoming the star and the celebrity, but it was because Malcolm had the articulation about the situation we're in at the moment to say, these people have lied to you. They're not who they say they are. They lied to you and deceived you, and it kept you in your place. But when you know your history and know who you are, you'll stand up and take your place, because a man takes his position in life. He's not given a position in life, right? And Malcolm represented that for us. You see what I mean? So what this brother is doing, Malcolm, you know, I can truly say, I honor your work, because Malcolm, as I've stated, Malcolm saved me. Not the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I love the honorable Elijah Muhammad, don't get me wrong. But it was the teachings and the articulation of Malcolm and his teaching that really got my attention to say, wait, what? Because what we don't realize is when you saw Malcolm, some of the greatest black scholars of that day, Malcolm would sit with them before he did the lectures. That's why he knew he sat with Dr. Clark, Dr. Ben, many of the great black scholars and women. Malcolm was talking to them on a regular basis. Right, you go to read the real background of Malcolm instead of the story they want you to know. You like, man, this brother was brilliant, but he was humble because he knew what he didn't know.
Without a college degree.
That's right.
Well, what he tell my man when the reporter asked him, like, who's your alma mater? He was like, books. Right. He was like, books is mine. You know, I read every day, and you know what's so crazy is,
at least they say about reading. Something from a nigga, put it in a book.
Yeah, and it's crazy because out of a whole week, I probably talked to his oldest daughter 4 times out the week. And I mean, she just dropped knowledge on me every time, you know. And like she was telling me in a conversation, she say, my daddy grew up in a household where they spoke 5 languages. You know. And I'm like, man, she was like, where everybody else went to public schools, she was like, we didn't go to public schools. Our father sent us to go to school at the UN. I say, who parents sent them to go to school at the United Nations? You know what I mean? Like, who does that? She say, but what it did was it taught us to have a global education.
That's right.
To see things not just on a local site, but on a worldwide site. And I said, man, and
remember what he said. Remember what he said about education. He said, only a fool allows his enemies the opportunity to teach their children.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and here's what we forget. Malcolm's mother was from the Caribbean.
Yep. Yep.
One. The other thing is Sister Betty Shabazz was Dr. Betty Shabazz. Right. So we've allowed other people to tell this story about Malcolm as this mean-spirited, hardcore evil man. And my retort always is, how did he get that way? What happened that he had to retort in such a way to put you in your place? Right. To tell you, I'm not your boy. I'm not searching for civil rights. I'm trying to get us human rights. Y'all don't even honor the most basic civil right. What good is a civil right going to do me when you don't even give me human rights?
Human right.
So he was very, very clear and so much so. Remember, both of these gentlemen were truth tellers. So tell people, man, so you don't have to lie and make up a story. You can tell the truth. That's the most dangerous thing in the world, particularly when you're talking to your enemy, right? And you tell them you don't get to determine who I am. In Malcolm's case, it was my history is great, and that's going to determine who I am. But I've got to remind my people that they don't know that, and that you lied to them, right? And so in the end, remember, they were looking at, because here's what people forget: Malcolm woke Martin up. Listen to Martin after he went and met with the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he and Malcolm started finally communicating. Totally different. Go listen to them last speeches, and all of a sudden you hear Dr. King stating who he was as a black man. You never heard him say that. He started talking about being a black man, and then he started talking about what they did when they brought these Europeans over here to farm, and they took the land from black people and gave it to white people and paid them not to farm at the same time.
Right.
So now Martin is the so-called radical. Read the latter FBI reports. See, Malcolm had to go because his truth was so plain for so long. And once he started getting middle-class educated white people, they said, he got to go now. He was calling us devil and was talking to black people. That was okay. But when them rich white celebrities start kicking him out money, start working with the Black Panthers, they said,
became a problem.
Right?
That's a problem.
It's about a truth. And when we know our truth, these missions that we have, it's not hard for you and I, because we believe what we're doing is continuing the legacy.
That's heavy. I mean, we're getting a history lesson tonight, people. So I hope y'all chiming in. Make sure y'all liking, sharing, keeping this thing going. But like I say, a lot of this information, man, some of it is in plain sight and we still don't see it. And then some of it is hidden. So like I say, programs like this and things that y'all doing is educating our communities, even in Illinois and in Inkster. Like, this is dope because, like I say, it's all intertwined. You know what I mean? And it's a place where everybody can go. Like, who doesn't go to Chicago at least once in their lifetime? You know what I'm saying? Go a little further and go to the center. You know what I'm saying? Because I think supporting this in many ways, because like I always say, it's free to share something. You don't have to actually spend any money. If you see somebody posting, "Oh, we doing this, we doing that," share it, because somebody that's connected to you might want to help.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I want y'all to like go into. I'm gonna start with you, Aaron. Just let them know if somebody wanted to reach out and volunteer or donate to help. What's the process?
Yeah. So right now we're in the process of revamping our website, and our website is www.pwhdab.org. So on our website, you'll be able to go there. You'll be able to go on there and click on the volunteer list. We actually have jobs coming up because we're rehabbing the house. So we was just awarded. So back, let me just off tab for 1 second. To go back when we was talking about how investing into our own community. We was asking people to invest into this house. For about 7 years. We couldn't get $1 from like nobody in the community, like nobody. And they knew the history. One day, I did an interview in the newspaper, and this doctor, that's a professor at Wayne State University, called me on the phone, and he said, "I want to be a part of the group." So me and him talked, and I told him, I'm like, we need to write a grant. So make a long story short, man, we sat down for a month and a half. We wrote a grant to the National Park Service to rehab the house, and we was awarded $384,000 and like $450 to rehab the house.
Sweet.
So that was the only way we could get it done. We didn't have nobody that wanted to believe in our mission, our vision. So we had to go do it ourselves. And it goes right back to what you just said, Brother Shabazz. Now everybody, now that we got that money, everybody, hey, what can we do? And we're not turning the other cheek, because what we want to do is we want to make sure that everybody could be a part of this legacy. So we got with you go on our website, we even opening our contract bids, because we gutted the house out. We kept the original bathtub that was in the house, that Malcolm actually bathed in. We kept that tub. So we're going to get contractors So it'll be a link on our site for you to put in your contract bid to work on the house, for you to buy a brick. So like we're gonna tear the cement up, you will be able to get like a brick with your, put whatever you want on the brick, like a commemorative brick that will go in front of the house, or you can make a donation, and all that's done on our website, which is constantly updated. And again, that's www.pwhdab.org. And you can reach out to us and give us a phone call at 734-377-2481.
Give them that website again.
Yep, it's www.pwhdab.org. So just take the project We Hope, Dream, and Believe. Just take the first letter out of the organization, and you will find it. Yep.
Cool. Now, same to you, Byron. I know you got a lot going on. I just popped up. I don't know if y'all seen. I popped up the mural on the screen so the people can see the mural. And also, how can they help you or donate or just keep update with what's going on with the cause?
Well, right. Thank you, brother. Well, right now I'm using a local foundation because I'm finishing the final paperwork, some real minor things to finish my foundation and my 501c3. So I'm using the Macomb Foundation, and that's Macomb, Illinois. So if you wrote to the city of Macomb, yeah, like it's I believe it's housed out of the city hall. It's not the cities though, but it's the Macomb Foundation. They are my pass through right now. If someone wanted to donate, but I can be reached at Byron Shabazz at Hotmail with any questions or anything anyone wants to know. And in the coming days, I will send all the information back for the new web page and all of that. I had to make some changes because there is also a CT Vivian project, but it's in Atlanta where he lived. And so they asked me to add the word Macomb because they're building a library in his honor. So I had to make some minor changes to make sure that people didn't mix the two up. And what's coming up is the picture that he was posted there. We're putting up a new mural, and it's CT Vivian looking over his life. And as you can see, it goes through the different phases of his life, all the way from him going to college and high school here, graduating, the civil rights marches, when he went to jail in Birmingham, and when President Obama gave him the Medal of Freedom. And so this mural is him looking over his life, and had community donations. I'm trying to raise another $3,000 to finish the project. I'm halfway there. So if anybody wants to donate, again, they can hit that Macomb Foundation. And again, I will make sure you get the exact email. I don't know the exact email, but I gave in the information I gave you, it's some information there. But again, it's continuing a legacy. And so the idea is, how do we make not only our children aware, how do we even make the adults aware? Because the reason I named it the Center for Civic and Social Engagement is because when we have social or political ills or situations, we should have a place to go to have healthy discussion about that, right? I just created a new women's group. Right now I have about 40-something black women signed up for this new group, and it's called Bridge Builders, and it's going to build resources for many brothers who came from a situation like I was. I was a good athlete, very young, went on to college, athletics or whatever, but I built this so that if a mother wants her son to play ball, he doesn't have shoes, there's a resource to get him shoes. If a mother's son or daughter needs resources for tutoring, if there's programming that's available through the city, putting all those people together to create an opportunity for those parents and those resources to interact, right? And so the object, again, with this center is, how do we empower people? And that's what CT Vivian was about, right? He was all about empowering people. But if you go look, there's a video of him it's a very famous video. He's down in Mobile, Alabama, I believe, and they went. They protested. It was the time to vote, and when they went to vote, the sheriff, the mayor, and some other people stood in the doorway, and CT was standing in the front, telling them that their vote is their right to vote, and the Constitution says so. And the sheriff punches CT Vivian square in the face. CT Vivian goes down. stands right back up, blood on his face, got right back in this man's face, telling him about his right to vote. You understand? And when you see that, if he can do that to sacrifice us for the right to vote, I know I can spend my time trying to build something to honor him, to help educate people about the need to vote.
Yeah, we had a question in the chat. It said, do you have any recommended readings for someone looking to learn more about the history and how to continue to improve the living of Black Americans?
Man, I could write you I'll send you a reading list. I could walk you back there, brother. I have an endless list. But let me give you the quick ones that I tell people to read. One is When Work Disappears. Because if you want to understand what happened to us during the crack, well, first let me start you from the beginning. The Miseducation of the Negro by Dr. Carter G. Woodson.
Okay.
I say read that one first, because then it helps you understand what happened when we left the South prior to and educating ourselves, and when we started to have this split between the working Black class and the middle Black and the middle class Black people, right? And so then you can read the book called The Condemnation of Blackness by Khalil Muhammad, because reading that book helps people understand the conditions that Black people have lived under when the laws have deliberately tried to work against us to shape us into being these people. Crack mother, crack baby, this war on drugs, which was a lie. You start understanding that these people deliberately came up with language to qualify you to be what they wanted you to be, right? So if I make you this person and create this political jargon around you, and I put it on the news long enough, when I come and destroy your neighborhoods, when I come take the men out and incarcerate them, people say, yes, he needed to be gone. We need to get rid of him, right? And so then after that, there's a book called Sister Michelle wrote it. Man, The New Jim Crow. The New Jim Crow will help you understand from 1970 on through the crack epidemic exactly what happened. Because remember, when Nixon started the war on drugs, there was never anything really. There was never a war on drugs. Nixon hated the hippies because they were against him. And he said he knew if he was going to take over the Black community, you've got to extract the Black men out. So under the guise of the war on drugs, remember before 1970, there were more Black men married to Black women on average in a household, right? So if you take a white household and a Black household, on average, there's more Black men married to their wives than white men. After 1970, when they instituted not the Rockefeller laws, but all started from that. But when they instituted these new laws, all of a sudden you saw the disruption of the Black family. So you went from like less than 20% not married to now we got 70% Black women single mothers, right? But why? What happened? Go look at 1970. What happened? The war on drugs, and they came in and interrupted the Black community. And then what do we see after that? So you remove the Black men, you got these boys who grow up. So what happens in the 80s? We got the crack epidemic. Wasn't no men there to fight for them boys, right? Wasn't no men there to fight for them. So now we've destroyed a lot of the Black fabric in the Black family. Remember this too, very important point. Go back and look at when they started building highways through urban America. You know what that did? So the job was on this side of the highway. The Black neighborhood, their flourishing areas is right where they always built them highways. So now somebody has taken away your economy. Now you got to go on the other side to get a job. You're not self-employed, because remember, growing up, the plumbers was Black, the electricians was Black, the funeral homeowners was Black, the hairdressers was Black, the police were Black, right? Somebody else was telling us, oh, that's segregation and you cannot move away. But what we have to remember, how many Black teachers did we have? How many Black teachers do our children have? You understand? So while all this was going on, when you read the book called When Work Disappears, it makes it very clear, real easy factors. If you have high unemployment, a poor education system, the absence of the male, what are you going to get? What is that outcome?
Of destruction.
When something happens, ain't nobody there to protect you.
No,
there is no voice there to protect you, right? All deliberate though, and what I want to be very clear about, all of those were deliberate actions taken, and they were state and government sponsored. These were not random acts that people just engaged in. These were acts that were government funded. Take you one step back, and I will lead to the brother.
Oh no, you good. You good. I'm learning.
Go back and look at when we had Abraham Lincoln. Though he was a racist, though he did not free the slaves, all those mythologies were not true. But what he did do, because he had Frederick Douglass in his ear telling him, hey man, this road you headed down, bad move. Bad move. So here's what you need to do if you want to take this thing. But what did Nixon say? Well, if they're going, well, why don't we just send them back? We don't need to have them here then. We can let them free, but we're going to try to send them back to Africa, right? And if somebody's got to be in the inferior and the superior, I would rather be in the superior, right? So what happens? So he brings on this little poor, basically redneck Andrew Johnson as vice president, who was all for his movement. As soon as they assassinated Lincoln, he turned right back into who he really was. What did he do? He undid everything that we gained from Reconstruction. That was his sole mission. He went right back to them those farmers that had black men slaving for free. After they were freed, they came up with what's called the vagrancy law. So now you're free. You standing somewhere. If you don't have a job in that dress, I can lock you up. Right? So that was his whole mission. He went right back to them farmers and those sheriffs and said, okay, since we can't make them slaves again, we're gonna take their rights away again. And now with the vagrancy laws, we can just lock them up and we can convict lease them. So I arrest you and you don't have the money to pay to get out. I then say, since you can't pay, I'm gonna lease you to the same plantation you just left from. Now you're working for free again, because remember, what was the 13th Amendment? Except for
if you're a criminal. Yeah,
that's right. If you're a criminal, I can make you a slave again. You understand? So if you read those books, those are the books that I tell people, if you don't want to go out too wide and you want to focus, because if you want to understand the crack epidemic, if you want to understand these horrible Rockefeller laws that came after us, if you want to understand the ideologies of the people who wrote those laws, you understand? All those books give you a real clear definition. And that Miseducation of the Negro, if you don't read any other book in the near future, read the Miseducation of the Negro, because you'll think he just wrote that book yesterday. Because you understand black class, black education, the working class, because he's very clear when he gets to a certain point, which is why as a middle class, black educated man with 6 degrees in his home between me and my wife, I've always made sure I never separated myself from the struggles of my people. I don't care what I drive, how I dress, where I go, where I live. I'm never bigger than the struggles of my people. That's why I educated myself, so that I could be a voice and a help. I can have the things that I like. You know, I don't let nobody fool. I don't fall for that nonsense of, oh, now you middle class and you think, you know, I'm still drive what I like. I'm still dress the way I like and do what I want to do. But I will never abandon my people. You understand? The condition of my people will never be bigger than any material item that I can ever have. Right. So doing the work that myself and brother are doing, see, that's why we're so driven to do it, because that is what's clear. I can't take none of this with me. You ever seen a hearse you ever seen a hearse with a U-Haul behind it?
Not at all.
But that building that I'm trying to build, that legacy that I'm trying to build, you understand? That's gonna be there.
That and you know that word alone has been my biggest sermon that I've been preaching, is legacy. You know, I ask myself every day, like, what is your legacy that you're going to leave behind? You know, what mark are you going to put in this world that's going to be left where people be like, wow, he really did that. And it's been a blessing working on this project. On September 24th, we had the honor of going to the historic preservation. It was a Zoom meeting, so we had to go do it on a historic preservation for them to make the house a Michigan historical landmark. And it was just funny because everybody was in the Zoom room, so they took the little raise of hands to find out who wants to speak on behalf of the of your project that you was doing. So I had shot Malcolm's oldest daughter a text message, and I was like, it'll be a blessing if you would grace this audience with your presence. And man, she hopped in instantly. And the guy, he was like, we got a Ambassador Shabazz. And like everybody like, look. And she got in, she say, hey, assuming by my last name, you already know who I am. She was like, I'm Malcolm's oldest daughter.
Wow.
And I mean, everybody on the board just stopped. They was like, what just happened here? And man, she just, congratulated us on the work that we're doing with the family house. And she just went on and on and on. And when she got off, one of the guys he say, this has been the best day of my job. And the lady say, well, what do you mean? He say, man, I'm about to go home and tell my kids I spoke to Malcolm's oldest daughter today. He say, hey, hands down, this thing need to be a national thing. You know what I mean? And man, I'm talking about just with her gracing them and just talking to them. I'm telling you, man, it was awesome.
Yeah, what is it about the daughters, man? Because I speak the same way. I speak to CT Vivian's daughters several times a week. Same way, right?
Yep.
I brought them to town a few times, man, and it's so funny. I had to go I was at another meeting, I was doing something, and they went to dinner, and I told the lady, there's a lady on this restaurant here, Magnolia's, that, hey, I've got somebody coming in, but they didn't know yet who they were. So they come in. And it was so funny, man. They this is during COVID, so they had, you could eat outside.
Right.
So they're eating, and so, man, like the sheriff sees them, and he just goes over. They don't even know. He just goes and say whatever they want, pays for it, right? Wow. The lady at the restaurant is like, "Oh, you are." Don't even worry about it. So it's like Black royalty when they come in, because these are the daughters of CT Vivian. And it's funny to them because when people are talking about them, and I say, oh, here she is right here. She came, she's right. She's in my car. There she is right there. You know what I mean? Or there they are. And so I have the same relationship with them. And it's funny how like his oldest daughter is over his estate. And I'm literally the only person legally that has rights to his likeness and his name anywhere, right? Wow. Doing the work. So I so appreciate it's heartwarming, man, to hear what the story you just told, because we're gonna have to exchange, because
to
meet his daughters, man.
And I think out of it all, it's good for us because when you tell a story, you're telling the story the right way. I remember when I first talked to her, and she just like reflected. She said, like, I remember being in the auto bar room that day.
Wow.
I remember sitting on my mama's lap. You know what I mean? And hearing the gunshots, and I'm like, man, like that's like that's stuff that we watch on TV. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Man, and I tell you this. We got like a big high praise from them, because she said, you would never believe how many people write books about my dad and the facts are all wrong. She said, I take my hat off to your organization because you guys actually reached out. And when we didn't respond, you guys kept sending us emails and was like, hey, we just want to make sure everything is correct. What you think about this? What you think about that? So she say, I just had to find it within my heart, like, these are some cool people. Let me reach out to them. And we got like a big praise because that opened up the doorway for us to learn more about Malcolm, just because we wanted to make sure that we tell the story the correct way, so I mean, our history, man, it is It is deep.
Hey, it's funny. It's heartwarming to hear you say that, brother. Because as a black man in a country that has spent a lot of its time having a relationship of usurpation, right? And having a relationship of, you are only worth what you are to me, what you can do for me.
Right.
And so we produce these men like C.T., Malcolm, Martin, Garvey. We produce these men, right, that totally dismantles the idea of the whole notion of this so-called white superiority. Never, ever been true. Because when people talk to me about white supremacy or the theory of white supremacy, I said, but you have to be careful the way you use that, because if you use it the wrong way, it sounds like you believe it, right? And if you don't show them, you lied. You never, ever did what you said you did. You didn't create math. You didn't create math. You didn't create language. You definitely didn't create science, because we can easily go back to our history. And, when we talk about the word chemistry comes from CAM, black people. The zero came from algebra, black people, right? Northern Africans. So the more we know about the rudimentary levels about who we are, right? Which is why Malcolm not only talked about the spiritual, he talked about the very practical, which is how Malcolm became my hero, man. Because here's something else that Malcolm X, in many of my readings of Malcolm early on, one of the things that I found out is, man, Malcolm was crazy about his kids, man.
Yeah.
You read Betty when she talk about Malcolm. She's like, it's funny. The world see this big, stern, tall, handsome man with this. She said he come home, he's like a kid on the floor, man. He just couldn't wait to be around his children.
Yeah.
And I cherish that. I had mine. I was the same way, man. I named my daughter. One of them name is Elisha after Eliasha. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. My baby girl, man, name is Elisha, right? But Malcolm had such an influence on me because the other thing that people don't know is that Betty Shabazz was a nurse before she married Malcolm. But Betty had been educating herself the whole time, man.
The whole time.
Right? And Betty and Coretta King were, man, like super tight. I'm talking, matter of fact, several of the leaders' wives were very close, and people thought that because so-called Malcolm and Martin did and that was all untrue, because we allow other people to do what not to do what we're doing. Tell the narrative from our perspective, from what we learned directly from them. Because I like you, when I would talk to the daughter, she said, oh, I remember Dr. King coming to the house when I was a little girl, seeing, Diane Nash and, all the many black leaders. She's talking about when you were a child and you're looking up to them, and your father is one of them.
Right.
Friends, right. You know what I mean? And so, now in the work we do to carry that legacy on, man, I don't have any limitations in my dream, because statistically, there was nothing about me that said that I should have made it out of my condition. But I've always kept inside of me possibility and a dream, and I don't let other people's mental limitations determine my dreams. Right? As I told you, when I told people, man, that after I designed the center myself. Matter of fact, I should show y'all I've got the poster upstairs with the design, the floor plan, and I did the whole thing myself. And then I went to an engineer, and he, put it up, and he did the computer graphic and blah, 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 blah. But, we have to believe in our own dreams, particularly when they're laced in the beliefs of our people, right? If you work to do good, and it's not hey, listen, man, and I'm very clear with people about this, man. Look, I eat every day. My wife is doing well. I have a decent job, right? I can put my kids in college. I can make sure that they're okay.
Right.
So doing this work, man, is about legacy for me. It's not about me making money from it. It's not. It's about when my children walk down the street and say, my name is Oden-Shabazz. Oh, that's your father that built that. Not that I'm looking for them to praise me for. But say, your people have contributed something that made our society better.
Right.
And you could ask anybody here.
Right.
Hey, look, man, I got a real simple model, man. When I deal with them other folks, I don't have a filter. And I might say it in a particular manner, but believe me, I don't draw any lines, because I live by this motto. Hey, if the room is cold, we all getting ready to be cold. Because if you think I'm gonna set myself on fire so you can be warm, and I got to walk away with the scars, and you sitting there warm, absolutely not. If it's cold, we all going to be cold. So let's just live in our truth. and do what we need to do to get to this next place. And I think this work that we're doing,
It's gonna do it.
Proud of you, brother, because again,
No, I'm proud of you, sure.
Right on, brother.
and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that other brother on the other side too. You know what I mean?
Hey, you know what? You
no, man,
what I can do when I can do it.
Hey.
No, I mean, it's crazy that we speaking so strongly on legacy because I actually have a clothing brand called Legacy because one of my biggest things is just preservation of just anything my thoughts. Like I'm a dreamer. And anybody that knows me personally know if I'm not afraid to fail. So if I want to do something, I try it. Like my kids, like I'm like how you say the adornment of a daughter to a father. I'm a girl dad. I got 2 daughters, and I want to leave my legacy for them. So my whole thing is like everything I do is based on what I leave for my family or what can be the next phase of it. Because like my oldest daughter, she makes t-shirts. Why she make t-shirts? Because her daddy make t-shirts. You know what I'm saying? My youngest daughter edits video. Why? Because her daddy edits video. So my legacy is already going. And I'm branching it all full circle with my total family. Like we all in this whole little thing together. Like my wife is a fitness trainer and we doing all type of stuff with her digitally. You know what I'm saying? So everything is branded to my legacy, and my legacy is birthed from what I got from my mom. Like I was raised by a single parent, you know what I'm saying? Even though the village helped, but my mom was my rock. So I always thought like anything I do, I got to make sure my wife ain't got to work or live as hard as my mom did to take care of us. So that's my legacy. My legacy as a man is to do what I could do. Like what we're doing right now, when we far gone, guess what? This audio, this video going to still circulate. Right. So this could be a teaching point 10 years from now, 20 years from now, because it's in the atmosphere. Once it go on the internet, I don't care what you delete, it's out there. So this conversation is legacy in itself because it's 3 black men speaking and giving knowledge and information to the masses if they willing to listen. So it's just funny that word legacy plays on because when I was thinking about building the brand, I was stuck on the name. I was throwing off all type of different names, couldn't catch a name. And me and my daughter, we sitting there doodling names because she always that's my little assistant. And she said, and Jay-Z's 444 was playing. And the song Legacy came on. And it was like, Daddy, what's a will? And then it said Legacy, 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 Black Excellence. And I was like, that's it. That's what I'm gonna name my brand. Legacy, established 1980. My legacy started the day I was born, April 26, 1980. And I instill in that. Like I tell my daughters, like my oldest daughter is a sophomore in college, and my baby is a freshman in high school. Like I want you to be educated, but you don't have to go to school if you don't want to, but you're gonna have a skill set that you can always make money. Like my kids, from things that they how to do now, they don't never have to work for anybody. Now, if they choose to do that, I'm a support them. But I set in them skill sets and drive and hustle to do that on their own. You know what I mean? Because like, look at me. Like I haven't punched a real clock. Shit, I don't know them. I never filed the taxes under a job before because when I had a job, I was a kid, so I was tax exempt. So you know what I'm saying. My first W-2 was under my photography company. You know what I'm saying. Everything we do. And I'm big on ownership. Excuse me. Everything we do, like Real Is Radio Network, I own it. You know what I'm saying? Legacy Clothing, I own it. Paparazzi Photography, we own it. Our graphic company, we own it. Be Well Friends, we own it. And I'm big on ownership and leaving legacy. So what y'all doing is beautiful. It's huge. And I think that is I don't think people understand or grasp what y'all putting into the community and the work that y'all putting in because people see results, but they never see the work. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm here to give y'all flowers now. I don't want to wait till after y'all gone. We can say, oh yeah, Aaron helped build the house or Byron helped build this center in Illinois. No, I want you to know now that I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And as black men, we don't get that love to each other enough. And that's why my platform is for that. Like a lot of times you might come to this show and we just shooting the shit because that's what I like to have a good time and just talk. That's what I do. But I also like to give game and drop jewels, even in joke, even in jest, is a lot of truth. You know what I mean? And so that's my thing. So I just want to say I appreciate y'all, and I definitely we've been kicking it for 55 minutes, man, and the audience been engaged. We got the comments rolling, and this is a beautiful thing. But one more time before we get out of here, I'm gonna start with Byron. Give them another quick rundown on how they can donate, and I have the information at a later date so I can post it. But just give them a quick rundown of what they got to do to try to help out.
It's the Macomb Foundation, and that's Macomb, Illinois, where they can donate to the CT Vivian Project. Again, you can reach out to me at ByronShabazz@hotmail.com, and I'll make sure to get you all the proper information in the coming days. Or like I said, I had to finish a few small legal things, and I'll have my foundation 501c3. All of that stuff will be up. Again, once the mural goes up, you'll be able to see, all the information will be out, because when we put the mural up, all the information will be stated. And I'll be hosting some live social events. I'll be doing a show with my man here.
Yeah, let them know about the podcast that's coming.
Yeah.
We got some
I got
things
a podcast coming up. I haven't fully named it yet, but as I'm working through the CT Vivian project and some of the public stuff I'll be doing, I'll be interviewing people. I have some interviews already that I did with the family, that I've conducted with the family. So anyway, be looking for me in the coming days. There's a lot of great things coming. All trying to be a better servant leader for us in our community.
That's dope. That's dope. So Aaron, same to you.
Once again, Project We Hope, Dream, and Believe. Really, we just want to thank you for allowing us to be here to share our story. You could just reach out to us at www.projectwehopedreamandbelieve, and just get all the information that you need from there. And I'll leave you with this, and it's one thing that we teach in our male mentoring program is it's almost like how Malcolm said, where did you come from?
That's right.
What is your background? And I had to take a minute to actually realize what he meant by that. So I go to before the pandemic, we used to go to Africa and do community service over there. And one thing that I took from them was that when they got ready to eat, they always told like their family story. So every Sunday it was the same story. Just when somebody die off, the next matriarch adds on to the piece of the same story. So when I came back home, I had to ask my family, like who are we? Where did we come from? And my mom gave me the breakdown. My mom said, well, your great grandfather was a plantation owner. And I just looked at her like, what did you just say? Like, she said, yeah. She said, my great grandma was the midwife, and his wife couldn't have kids. So that's how my grandma got here, was he got my great grandma pregnant, and that's how my grandmother got here. And I said, so you mean to tell me like that's how close this stuff really runs in our family? Like I don't have to say great, great, great. And she said, no, she said it's like knocking at your door. And come to find out, my grandfather was a sharecropper on the same plantation where my grandmother was. But just after years, they wind up meeting later on down the road and got married. And I really, really had to sit down and think about like where I come from. Like that's what made me want to understand about me leaving my legacy behind, of the mark that I want to leave in this world. And all of the good work that I do. And like Rodney, man, like me and you, man, I don't know how long me and you been at it. You know what I'm saying? We've been at it for years, and just watching you, it encouraged me to never punch a clock again. You know what I'm saying? And like when I talked to you the other night, like I tell people, I say, man, I took my hustle and just turned it into my own job. And that's how I operate. That's how I operate. I haven't punched the clock since 2010. And hey, praise the Lord, so hey.
If you will allow me, brother, cousin Rodney, if I could leave something with the brother that I really would like for him to that may be a help to your mentorship program.
Okay.
And this is a piece I use in my mentorship program, and it comes from Brother Malana Karanga. The question I always ask when I speak in prisons, when I speak in schools, and it's relative to the existence of Black men everywhere.
Okay.
Who am I? Am I who I say I am? Am I all that I can be?
Right.
Who am I? Am I who I say I am? And am I all that I can be? Right. That puts the perspective in place. And here's how the other side to that. I say, tell me who you are without telling me your name. Not what your mama named you.
Mm-hmm.
You grown man. You tell me who you are. So if you've been a thief, a crook, or whatever, you telling me that's who you are? Well, if that's what your legacy has been, now I'm trying to make you conscious of changing that.
Right.
You understand? Because you are what you do, right? You are what you do. And if you do it a lot, that's what you'll do best. So I always ask people those questions because it as simple as it sounds when you say, who am I? And they say, my name is Willie Smith. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. Somebody told you was Willie Smith. But go dig back in your history, you're going to find out you got another name. And when you say, am I who I say I am? Oh, man, I'm so-and-so in the street, or I got the nice J, or I wear the nice stuff. That ain't got nothing to do with who you are, man. Because you putting on a front to convince somebody you somebody. Right. Who the somebody is in here. You just got to make peace with who you really are and let that person out. And am I all that I can be? So if you've limited yourself to some street hustle, or all you are is an athlete, or all you do is go to this job, you punch this clock and you go back. So you're not even living, you existed. Right. You understand? So you need to be trying to figure out, how can I be all that I can be? So whatever your dream is, back to what you said in closing, it's follow your bliss. I love serving us. I'm a boy from a housing project, man, that I graduated from high school, state track meet, got weighed 132, was 5'2". Ain't nothing about that should have said I went to Michigan State on a full athletic ride as a middle distance runner. You understand? But the one thing I've always had is I believed in something about me. When nobody else believed it, I believed there was a possibility. I knew I could get out of them projects. I believed I could successfully be married and build the life that I wanted, right? Because I'm cool with who I am. I am trying to be all that I can be. That I can be. But I have tried to be a part of finding that out through who I really am. Who are we as a people, right? Not who they say we are, because they always said we was nothing third class, not fully human, right? So I determined, no, I'm fully human. As a matter of fact, I'm the first human. So how can you tell me I'm 3/4 of a human? That wasn't on me. And excuse me, I'll close here. But remember this, man. God ain't never made niggas. White people made niggas. So if you let somebody tell you who you are, that's what you're gonna be. What they want you to do. You understand? I love y'all, man. Thank you so much. I love you too, brother.
For sure, man. We're gonna hold on to the line right quick. We're gonna exit out, but we're gonna chop it up offline in a minute, man. First of all, if y'all like what we did today, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, share. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We need to get the YouTube subscriptions up. If you're watching on Facebook, please like and share it. If you're watching on the app, make sure you share it as well. And this has been Cigars with Friends on the Real Ish Radio Network, man. I just appreciate all the support, all the love. Make sure y'all tap in with these brothers, man, and help out these situations, because it's a beautiful thing, and it's a beautiful thing for us. And we out of here.
Hi, it's your girl Christian from the Transparency Place podcast on the Real Ish Radio Network. I'm actually life coach Christian on the Transparency podcast, promoting self-awareness, self-wholeness, love, enrichment, and success in this life journey. Catch me live for season 2 every Sunday, 8 p.m. via the Real Ish Radio app, YouTube, and Facebook. There is so much to learn from our guests as they are transparent with us in this season. Hope to see you in the live chat.
Hi, I'm Blaine, host of Live with Blaine J, a podcast that airs right here on Real Ish Radio. Every week, I connect you to all the people, brands, and businesses you need to know about. I'm gearing up for season 2, and I can't wait to talk to you. So keep your notifications locked right here to Real Ish Radio.
See the struggle to get mine. Mother from the bottom, the cover, don't lie.